Hui hui, it's louisity again, and for this video I'm going to be rereading The Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan. Hoorah! So, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so I read until page 80, or I should say reread until page 80, and I must say that a lot of things happened. Where do I begin? So I begin with the cheerleaders, Tammy and Kelly, and rereading about Kelly kind of gave me an idea again of about who Kelly is, because I encountered her in the fourth book of the Heroes of the Olympus series, which is of course the House of Hades. And kind of like I feel bad for Percy, because it's like trouble kind of like just comes to him, like all these like miserable things, these monsters. It's like, that feeling wherein you try to avoid trouble, but trouble just gets to you. That's just, I think, something that really sucks. It's like you're trying to live your life peacefully, but it's like, you know war just goes to you. Yikes. And there's a lot of things going on with the labyrinth, with how Luke is trying to navigate, or there's like some suspicions about like Luke, trying to navigate all around it in order for him to bring all the Titan monsters, all Kronos' allies to Camp Half-Blood and start war, not only in Camp Half-Blood, but of course all over the world. And how they're going to, Luke is trying to, like, I guess, figure out how to navigate it, and the heroes are now, are trying to find ways so that he won't be able to do it, trying to seek help from Ariadne, or Ariadne, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, Arian or Ariadne? Comment down below if you know. And we get to meet, Chris Rodriguez, here again, and how he was traumatized about what happened in the labyrinth. And we get to see another side of, Clarice, which is, kind of interesting, like a softer side in her. And Juniper, who happens to be the girlfriend of Grover, finds Quintus suspicious, like he appeared, from the hole or the cave where Juniper saw him, which is believed to be the entrance of the labyrinth. And Quintus is depicted as like a suspicious character. I personally think that there is something suspicious about him, and I think rereading this would refresh my memory about him. And we'll see. Quintus is trying to give some aid for the quest, and yeah, Percy is, of course, quite skeptical because of what happened between him and Luke. So there's a lot of things going on. And oh, Nico. Yeah, Nico. He had a dream about Nico talking to a ghost or a spirit. He was trying to raise people from the dead. And Percy thinks it is his life that is the cost. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I just think that there are a lot of things going on. It's just really like, this has got to be intense. And if it is something that you're looking for, then I guess you will enjoy. But we'll see how everything will happen. So yeah, it's really serious. On the lighter note, I really enjoy reading about blackjack. I am definitely curious about how, the series is going to depict, blackjack with blackjack's thoughts. It's kind of, it adds like spice, and, it's just like a lighter feel, throughout the story. So I don't know, it's just so enjoyable reading about Percy, reading the minds of the horses. So yeah, I really have to say that there are a lot of things that are going on that they have to do. So they have to go through the labyrinth because they need to find Pan, and this could be the quickest way in order for him to be discovered. They need to look for Daedalus, who created the labyrinth, and how they can like solve what's happening, and Aryan, who um, of course holds the string to prevent Luke from seeing it. And now they have to also search for Nico through the labyrinth. So a lot of things are really going on here. And speaking of Nico, I really enjoy that part about the Happy Meal for the dead. Corn, Coke, and French fries. Super cute. I just want to say that Percy is so annoying with his jokes with Briaris. And speaking of Briaris, I remember the game, the rock, paper, and scissors game, and how Percy won. So it's kind of great when I reread it because I perfectly remember that scene. So it just felt so good rereading that again. Oh gosh, my hair's just getting thicker. So far. Yeah, I think in terms of like how the story was narrated, there were times wherein it was quite vague that I had to kind of like revisit it back. There was this part about like Daedalus, who was like, described as an old man. It kind of confused me at first because there was like an old man and then Daedalus were in, apparently the old man was Daedalus. So I don't know if it is because, I am reading a book series like back to back to back to back. Basically, when it comes to book series, if you folks have been watching my channel or watching videos from my channel, you know that um, I put gaps whenever I read the book series a lot. Like if I would read something like consecutively, it would be like just two books, but I've never like read a book like an entire trilogy, like binge read them like back to back to back, or read them, consecutively. And I guess that's why I'm getting a bit of an information overload, I guess. Nevertheless, I think it's still pretty good. I just read the scene where there was some quote unquote riddles by the Sphinx by Annabeth, which ended up like some, trivia questions. And so far with some of the things that I reread, the part with Eurytion, the son of Ares, I remembered reading that for the first time, and it was great rereading that again. And I am definitely curious about how these things are going to happen. And now that they got to look for Hephaestus, who happens to be the dad of Leo, if you folks have already read the Heroes of the Olympus series, you would know what I'm talking about or who I'm talking about. So, yeah, it did bring me some memories, and it was great that I was able to reread them again. And I kind of like when I was rereading them, I was like, oh, I remember this. I remember this perfectly. I do, So we'll see how this goes. Oh, and so far I am not liking Daedalus. You folks gotta read the Battle of the Labyrinth in order for you to find out. Folks, I'm about to reread Calypso, and I'm definitely looking forward about the things that are going to happen. Looking forward to reread it. So I'm already in the part where Percy met Calypso, and what's interesting right now is that since folks are into gardening these days, like indoor gardening, and there were scenes wherein they did some gardening, so I felt like what a coincidence about the time that I read it. It's like, with these books that I'm reading, most of the time, they kind of reflect of what's happening in like my surroundings, I'd say. And another interesting point that was raised about here is that Do you follow, your parents because they're essentially good, or it is because they're your family, like blood thicker than water? Mm. So yeah, and I'm already in the part where Hephaestus visited Percy and Ajija. So I'm definitely looking forward to what's going to happen next. And I'm kind of glad to reread this one. You know, um, Finally I get to discover more about Calypso again. Uh, this is the first time that we get to encounter her island, Ajija. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to read the next pages, and we'll see how Percy and his friends adventures in the labyrinth. Well, when I read that part when they found Daedalus, I'm shocked. So, another reading update because we're fabulous. So, I do find Rachel kind of like taking over this quest, and I'm not really sure if Annabeth is actually liking it. And another thing is, I wonder if when Percy was running away from Luke, if, he was able to save the invisibility cap. Invisibility cap for the win, hurrah! So, and pardon me for the messy hair. It's the quarantine look. I'm back because, we are fabulous. Hoorah. So, some insights from the last, pages that I read. Now, I notice how Annabeth is really, kind of has an attachment with Luke, and it kind of made me think about, like, with people, like how when we know we have been with people and most of them have been like good times, we can't help but like think about the good things or the good traits that that person has. So we end up kind of like, you know, like the good things about them or the good traits kind of like overtake even if they start doing like horrible stuff. I guess that's just how love works. And another thing is that, and I guess I would say that this is a trigger warning for death because like in this book it is very evident how they talked about the death of some characters here. So it kind of like makes you think about life, about like moving on, holding on. So something that the book is kind of like kindling in you. Mm. Cool. And as you can see, I flat ironed my hair again. What do you think? I like it. It looks much more manageable. Comment down below what you folks think. I'm back. So I just finished rereading The Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan, and I'm going to kind of like synthesize my thoughts. I'm just gonna sleep first, and tomorrow I will be back and I'll be telling you my overall experience and feedback. So it's the morning, as mentioned, I will be telling you my feedback overall about my rereading experience of The Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan. So first of all, I enjoyed when Nico, rose the people from the dead. I think that that was super powerful of him. Oh, bruh. So overall, I'd have to say that at first, and I'm thinking, like I said, I think I mentioned it in the previous clips that, I've been rereading or I've been reading books in the series like consecutively. Like I've never read like 4 books in a series in a row. Like I put gaps whenever I read a series, like in between books in the series, and like
the most that I did would have to be like 2 books back to back, but I've never like read or reread like 4 books like back to back to back to back, you know. So probably I was overwhelmed because throughout my rereading experience, it's kind of like the narrative is something that for me personally, it's like it's not something that I can just like breeze through compared to the other books. It's like I had to reread some of the parts to fully immerse myself because what I noticed is that this is definitely different compared to the first 3 books. It's like the first 3 books could be quite kiddie, which, you know, it's still pretty good. And this one is like more serious now. They're kind of like getting into the war. Olympus is going to get into the war with the Titan people or the Titan creatures against Kronos. So it's like most of the time I had to like reread in order for me to like fully immerse myself with the narrative. So it's kind of like I had a different feel of the writing style. I don't know if it's because it is what it is or it's because I have been like reading 4 books in the series in a row. And like the great things that I liked about this, and this is something that I observed like rereading the series, I felt like it had more impact to me now. Like the quotes, like there are some quotes there that will just make you contemplate and will make you think about, you know, certain things, whatever, like your thoughts about them or your stand about them. Like it's just like full of insights, which is really cool, you know. And I think they're very powerful, you know, with like Daedalus and who else, yeah. And even that like conversation towards the end, it's very like impactful, you know. And I like how it ended, you know, like uh, sort of like mysterious. It's like I don't know if it's going to be revealed in The Last Olympian. I don't really exactly recall. So let me see on my reread of The Last Olympian. But yeah, I think overall I'd say like the writing could be, you know, it's not exactly a breezy thing, which I'm not sure if that's what I signed up for rereading this one, but I think it does compensate with, you know, how they were able to portray that this is another level, like this is the next level of the narrative, like this is more intense and how, you know, it can make you contemplate with some of the things, you know, it's like one of those books where there are so many quotable quotes and I didn't realize that until rereading this one, how strong, you know, some of the quotes are, or some of the sentences that were here. So with that being said, I'm gonna be giving this book. It was a bit dragging, but it was deep. So I came to the conclusion last night to give this 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm going to eat my late breakfast. So if you've read or reread this book, feel free to comment down below your thoughts. So I guess that's about it. If you folks like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also click that subscribe button and hit that little bell icon so we're down there to keep yourselves posted about my videos. Also be putting down the links and handles of my social media accounts, so feel free to check me out and follow me there as well. As always, thank you super much for watching. Let us continue seeking for wisdom and unleash the reader in you. Bye y'all.